Why are there such striking similarities between the large and the small, the natural and the man-made? Repeating a simple rule over and over can give rise to infinitely complex patterns. In the 1970s, Benoit Mandelbrot described a formula that when its result is fed back into itself, a pattern emerges. He had discovered the Mandelbrot set that before now had existed only in a hidden dimension. This is what is known as a fractal. A pattern that repeats itself within itself at infinitely smaller scales.
Most of the time I wasn't a housewife. You couldn't go and live in a 14-by-8 hut and be a housewife. So fortunately, the work Brian was doing was possible for me to share, all of it. Ringing, weighing, measuring, observing, and I was tremendously interested in it and totally involved. It was wonderful. So ringing gannets was quite a hazardous experience. We used to catch them by using a long pole with a noose on the end. So you had to dangle it over this rather annoyed bill going backwards and forth, and then you had to pull it tight and haul the bird into you. We really trusted each other, which was very important. If you were holding the back of a gannet's head, your partner had to know you weren't going to let go and maybe have your eye gouged out. Fish, is a vital part of a gannet's life. Just trying to dive for a fish on your own is not very sensible because the fish, they have a fast swim mechanism and they disappear in all directions. But if you've got helpers,
When I go to visit my grandma, we always like to look at old pictures.
Ça dépend des endroits. Il y a des périodes où j'étais plus grosse. Celle-là, alors il y en a que je fais tarte quand même. Là, il y en a une ou deux.
Pourquoi tu dis ça? Ah, vous êtes bien, hein? C'était où?
Mamie Suzanne, ben, c'était ici, ça devait être pour une fête quelconque. Je reconnais la maison, il y a des guirlandes de Noël, ça devait être pour un Noël. Oula, regarde ton papa, tous les cheveux qu'il avait. Il n'y a pas que moi qui ai vieilli.
She told me once that in her head, she doesn't have the age that she has in reality. It's not easy watching yourself grow old. We're living longer and longer, and it has a cost for our families and society. People don't like to think about it or talk about it. So what can we do? Maybe science can give us some answers. Perhaps we don't all have to age like my grandmother. Is aging inevitable? But there is an animal that can live forever. Hydra. This tiny freshwater cousin of jellyfish first appeared around 600 million years ago. It may seem alien, but it's found all over the world. So small, it often goes unnoticed. Like jellyfish, its tentacles are full of venomous stinging cells. It lies in wait for its next meal. When touched, the stinging cell is triggered. A microscopic needle shoots out and traps the prey, releasing a paralyzing venom. Bizarrely, it doesn't have a mouth, so to swallow, it has to form a new opening and then seal it back up. After a few hours, it's eaten enough to start reproducing. The biologically immortal mother does it by creating perfect copies of herself. clones. The new Hydra sprout from her body, eventually becoming large enough to live a life on their own.
Albinism is a genetic mutation inherited from both parents who carry a faulty recessive gene that limits the body's production of melanin. The genetic fault occurs within melanocytes, specialized cells that produce melanin, but are not fully functional in those with albinism. If both parents carry the recessive gene, there is a 1 in 4 chance of having a child with albinism, and there are 2 common types in Africa, OCA1 and OCA2, which is the more common in Kenya. Albinism in Africa is often thought to be a curse and the fault of the mother who had an affair with a Mzungu, a white man. This tears families apart like it did Vince's.
No, I'm doing surgery. Sorry, did I not tell anybody that? All right, cool. Bye.
As part of a new trial, a small number of snakes are being monitored to see whether large-scale eradication might one day succeed.
So today we are implanting transmitters that give off a signal so that we can track these snakes. This type of transmitter actually has a mortality signal, so if the transmitter doesn't move for 24 hours, the signal that's picked up by the receiver is different, and so we can tell that the snake hasn't moved and has likely died. So this hole is essentially the opening into the lungs. And then just blow a little air inside, gently. And you can see it kind of swell up, and that helps remove any lingering anesthetic. Now it's in recovery. We wait until they do a tongue flick. We know they're breathing for sure because when they do the tongue flick, they take a breath. He's still going to be groggy for a while.
Fitted with these mortality sensors, the snakes are returned to a fenced-off enclosure where the second part of the trial is taking place. For the past few years, biologists have known about a particular poison that is deadly to these snakes. But due to the island's inaccessible terrain, they've had no way of distributing it. Thanks to a recent engineering breakthrough, however, this might be about to change.
So the bait cartridge system is basically a small cardboard tube about the size of a roll of US quarters, and inside the tube is an inner bait capsule. So when this is ejected from the aerial dispensing module that's in the helicopter, it's kicked out into the airstream, and the inner capsule slides out of the cardboard tube, exposing the ribbon, and this whole assembly falls down into the forest canopy.
Tricking hungry snakes into eating this poison, however, requires an irresistible bait.
When it tangles in the treetops, this capsule flops open, exposing the bait mouse and the acetaminophen capsule. So this entire assembly hangs up in the trees where the brown tree snakes are foraging.
One of nature's most extraordinary journeys begins with this tiny blue egg. The eggs measure just over 0.5 millimetre, the size of a pinhead. Inside is a caterpillar who will undergo one of the most mysterious transformations found in nature. The caterpillar is an eating machine and consumes over 100 different types of food plants. Its body is covered with short hairs that are connected to nerve cells. These hairs are incredibly touch sensitive and allow the caterpillar to feel the world around them. The caterpillar prefers to feed on the underside of the leaf, where it may be safer from predators. To keep from falling off, it uses silk to attach itself to the plant. When the caterpillar is fully grown, it undergoes metamorphosis, the greatest transformation found in nature. First, the caterpillar finds a spot to rest. Here it builds a silk pad and suspends itself from the plant. Next, the caterpillar sheds its skin to reveal the chrysalis it has been growing underneath. And now, through these X-ray scans, we can see for the first time the incredible transformation within. The first extraordinary discovery was that the caterpillar releases enzymes that digest almost its entire body into a protein-rich soup. Only a few groups of cells survive this process, and these cells go on to use the soup of the digested caterpillar to develop into the new organism. After the first day, the breathing tubes are already well formed. As the organism develops, the breathing tube system will continue to branch.